What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Welcome back into JC's Pop Culture, where you can see all kinds of pop culture content with me, JC. Today, we're going to talk about the College Football 25 update, the one we've all kind of been waiting on for quite a while now. We wanted to see this big title update. They promised the Campus Huddle blog along with it when it came. Finally, today, it arrived here on August 8th, and we're going to dive into the Campus Huddle blog, read through all the details on the updates there. We got stuff for gameplay, for Dynasty mode, for recruiting, for Super Sim, for Road to Glory, ton of updates. So as was the case in the lead up to this game, we were reading through Campus Huddle blogs. I'll kind of read through a little bit, come back, see if you guys got anything you guys want to comment on in chat or whatever, because as always is the case, encourage you guys, any questions, comments, concerns you got, throw them in the chat there. I'll talk with you guys a little bit throughout as well. See, we got Orlando in here. What's going on, Orlando? Sports Dude Hine Show. What's going on, man? Good to see you as well. Hope everybody's having a good Thursday. Apologies that I'm a couple minutes late on starting. You guys know I was bad with this camera cord. I've got to order a new one. I keep forgetting to order a new one to replace this one's got a little short in it, and sometimes it'll kick off, and then I've got to mess around with it, get it put at the right angle for the picture to pop back up. But we're good right now as long as I don't bump my desk and knock it off again or anything. But for now, we're riding high. So while we got the camera looking good, let's dive into the Campus Huddle blog. I'll read a little bit. If you guys got any questions, comments, throw them in there. I'll chat with you guys as well. But let's talk about this update here for College Football 25 that we've been waiting on. All right, so starting off here with the gameplay aspects that they were updated here in this title update. The gameplay, they've included 8 new shotgun formations to a total of 35 teams. Bunch quads open, known as diamond quads, added to teams including Texas Tech and Western Michigan. Deuce twins over, added to Buffalo and Toledo. Slot F wing, added to NC State and Liberty. Split pro far, added to NC State and Liberty's playbook as well. Split pro near, added to NC State's playbook. Tight Y off flex, added to Florida's playbook. Wing halfback close added to Indiana and Minnesota's playbook, and wing slot over has been added to Texas A&M and Kansas State's playbook. So that goes hand in hand with what they were telling us, prior to release, that not only once the season starts and they see, some teams run some plays that maybe aren't in the game, they'll add them in. They're also updating it as it goes along here now, knowing some formations were missing for some teams' playbooks even here prior to release. So that's pretty awesome to see there. Tuning and logic enhancements to pursuit angles. That's great to hear because, sometimes you've been playing, especially in user games, you would have seemed like you have a good angle on a guy, and even then he would run right past you, wouldn't be able to make the tackle. So they've tuned that better. They introduced new behavior that further differentiates players with high pursuit ratings versus lower pursuit ratings. They're going to monitor feedback on how this change impacts gameplay, and based on results, could make further adjustments in another title update in the future. They reduced the frequency of broken tackles from trailing defenders. That's a great one to see because it seemed like once a guy broke away, if you were running from behind him trying to make the tackle, they would break every tackle coming from behind him. And, vice versa. If you were the guy running away, sometimes you would be like, oh, I'm going to score right here because these guys are coming from behind me. I'm going to break all these tackles and get into the end zone. So they've reduced the frequency of that happening. So sometimes, maybe able to get caught a little bit more on those breakaway runs or breakaway, long plays rather. Fixed various instances of rare broken play bugs. So any plays that were broken in the past, they pretty much fixed all those, it sounds like. Fixed an issue where certain formations had offensive players aligned too wide on the near, if you were lined up on the near or the far hash. Fixed an issue where you could not use 4-2-5 or 3-3-5 formations in custom playbooks. They fixed another issue where single black formations would be assigned to the wrong name when creating a custom playbook. They fixed an issue where you couldn't spike the ball in some online modes when you were using the turbo tempo system. Fixed an issue where the speed option, sometimes I've encountered this one myself. You'll be running the option, and then all of a sudden your pitch man's not there, and you go to pitch it, and there's no one there, so it's a fumble. They fixed that so that the option man, your pitch man, will run with you longer and shouldn't encounter that anymore. Adjusted the AI's QB behavior on shot plays to make them have more lob throws versus bullet passes. They also adjusted the AI behavior to be less aggressive based on the awareness rating. Adjusted AI offensive line behavior, resulting in less illegal man downfield penalties during RPO style plays. Great to hear that one. Also, I've had that happen so many times. It's like you got a guy and you throw it, almost immediately when you snap it. You're like, how is he already downfield and stuff? So they're going to stay within a little bit more of that, 3 yards that they have to stay within there during those RPO plays. They also make a note here about for best chance at success, make sure you press the icon of which receiver you want to throw to before the running back receives the ball. So, making sure you're kind of making that decision before you get right to that mesh point, as early as possible will help with that as well. Adjusted the defensive back's ability to be more effectively shed blocks on the perimeter. So that's good. On those outside blocks, they won't necessarily always be caught up on those. That's going to help defending, those jet touch passes, defend those outside zone plays, those stretch plays. That will help there. Increase the speed penalty for running out of stamina during play. Good to hear that, because it seemed like no matter what, you could just hold down R2 at will in this game, and you wouldn't really have that much of a detriment for doing it. So now it seems like you will. QBs that scramble behind the line of scrimmage will lose stamina at a faster rate. So that kind of eliminates people just running around in the backfield there, getting out of the pocket and not being able to catch them, because if you're doing that, far too often, you're going to lose stamina pretty quick. They also fix an exploit where players would leave a QB contained player unblocked and run around them. So that's helping in the blocking adjustments. I know some people have complained about that, especially on pass plays, that the offensive line wasn't working well and the pass rush was getting there too quickly. That should help with that. They're going to make further adjustments to QB contained in a future update as well, so it could be improved even further down the line. Increase the reward players receive for shading inside or outside correctly in man coverage against passing routes. They adjusted false start chances when you make pre-play adjustments late in the play clock, which I do like this. I don't dislike the fact that they have this as a feature in the game, that if you're making a bunch of adjustments late in the play clock, sometimes you would get that false start, but it seems like it was happening far too often. So it seems like it'll be less frequent now, and you'll have at least more of a chance to make some of those adjustments late into the play clock. Fix an issue where run-fit defenders were not responding as effectively to Wildcat run plays, so kind of nerfing the Wildcat a little bit, as it was far too overpowered in this game. They also made an adjustment to the Wildcat unbalanced motion zone play. They reduced the effectiveness of multiple laterals in a single play. Good to hear that, because I'm sure you guys saw the clip going on offline, somebody running a triple option, and they would lateral even forward and have a big play or something like that. So they've nerfed that as well. Adjust the thresholds required to receive the most effective juke and spin moves. Adjusted press animations to be more of an effective counter to the takeoff ability. That's good to hear. And adjust the pass protection mechanic to only include the running back in the protection if they are already on block or block and release assignments. All right, now abilities. And then before we get into Dynasty, I'll come back, see if you guys got any comments before we get to that one. But let's go through the abilities here. One that I'm glad to see updated here is they updated the coloring of the Platinum tier abilities, so it looks different from the Silver, because really on the game previously you couldn't tell. I haven't seen exactly the adjustment. I just installed my update prior to doing this. I had to edit a podcast on my other channel, Country Roads Webcast. We put out our season prediction show for WVU football. So if you're a WVU fan, check that one out. But they've updated that, so should be able to tell now which abilities are platinum versus which one are silver. Be able to tell that easier. They rebalanced the gold and platinum tiers of the juke and spin abilities like 360 and sidestep. And I know everybody's excited about this one because, Quinshon Judkins was absolutely ridiculous. Devin Neal was absolutely ridiculous with their platinum spin ability. So they finally nerfed that a little bit. They shouldn't be as effective as they were previously, to where I'm sure you guys saw the clip of, a couple of them with Quinshon Judkins, one of him just spin moving all the way down the field in one clip, and then another one where he spin moved against Oregon and faked out the whole team. That's obviously probably not going to happen anymore. They rebalanced the platinum tier of the extender ability, which includes not firing on QB design run plays. They slightly rebalanced the effectiveness of the gold and platinum tiers of the quick jump ability. Additionally, made adjustments to the tier levels found on the Texas front seven. All right, so that's what we have there so far of gameplay and abilities. Anybody in the chat here? Don't got any comments in the chat. Like I said, guys, you guys got anything thrown in there? Questions, comments, concerns? I'll touch up with you guys again. Let's get into the updates to Dynasty mode. This is one that I was certainly looking forward to, my favorite mode on the game, and definitely needed some tweaks there. I know that there was several bugs, but it seems like they fixed a good majority of these, including this top one, which I didn't realize till I joined, my first large online Dynasty. And the 21st player that joined the Dynasty, because they wanted everyone to create coaches, was not able to create a coach. And so they fixed this bug. It fixed an issue where players weren't able to have more than 20 created coaches at one time in an online Dynasty league. Now you can have all created coaches in a Dynasty league if you'd like. Various fixes around score summaries and box scores, which, in the past you'd seen someone playing and then you would have their score popping up on the score summary ticker down below or something like that, a team you were playing with, and you're like, well, that's not right. So, just a glitch there that they fixed. Various fixes for news stories. They've introduced a new playoff bracket screen, which I think is really exciting. Haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but obviously the CFP in Dynasty mode had some issues, so it seems like they're not only adjusting that, but giving us a whole new playoff bracket screen. They updated the Texas and Oklahoma rivalry data. It was incorrect in the past. They've fixed that now. This is funny right here, the way that they put this, because we all know how overpowered FCS was in this game. It seemed like, especially playing on Heisman. I discovered that FCS, Southeast, Midwest, and Northwestern were secretly using professional players and passing them off as collegiate players. I love that they threw that in there. Gave them sanctions, ensured they are now properly rated players. For this change to go into effect, however, you'll have to, restart your dynasty. If you're playing one now, the FCS teams are still going to be the same. If you want to go back and have them be not so OP, you're going to have to restart your dynasty. They also fixed an issue where wear and tear did not recover for FCS teams, which resulted in a high number of FCS teams' injuries during gameplay. They reduced the dynamic attendance penalties for playing FCS teams. They increased dynamic attendance in rivalry games. They retuned the toughest places to play formula to reduce the impact that large stadiums have on toughest places to play and increase the value of filling the stadiums and winning games at home historically. So that's good. Just because you have a large home stadium, it's not going to necessarily make it that much louder. It's more going to now be affected by how filled is your stadium, in accordance with the dynamic attendance throughout the season. So how well you're playing is going to affect your, toughest places to play, your stadium pulse more so than the size of the stadium, which is good to hear. They reduced the impact of raw crowd size, increased the impact of historical win rate, and increased the impact of attendance rate. So that seems a lot more accurate and realistic as well. They updated the right-hand panel in stadium atmosphere grade on my school so that it accurately reflects the toughest places to play at all times. So as toughest places to play updates throughout your dynasty, so will the stadium atmosphere grade. You'll be able to see the toughest places to play updated in real time there on that right-hand panel. Increase the accumulation of pride stickers, particularly for defensive players and offensive linemen. They reduced the chance to transfer penalty for players rated below 90 overall. Updated coach talents on the Wyoming offensive coordinator. Of course, that's another change that you'll have to restart the dynasty for it to go into effect. Defensive schemes and playbooks have been updated for these following teams, which is another update that you'll have to restart dynasty to take effect. But the teams that have defensive schemes and playbooks updated are USC, UCLA, Mississippi State, Texas Tech, UConn, Miami, Memphis, Nevada, UNC, Notre Dame, Oregon State, San Jose State, TCU, Texas A&M, Troy, and UMass. Updating your coach's playbook in the schemes and playbook screen will now update your team's scheme and be reflected in team needs as it should be. That's more accurate. I'm interested to see if now when you're in Dynasty and you go to set your playbook underneath your coach, if you can actually select your custom playbook there, because you couldn't previously, and you have to go every game and switch to your custom playbook because it wouldn't allow you to set it in the menu. I'm hoping that's fixed now too. That's one I got fingers crossed for. If not, maybe they'll do that in the future because it's just a minor thing, but it's just a little bit annoying, a little bit of a nuisance to have to do that every game and change the playbook to your custom playbook. They fixed an issue where offensive linemen would appear in the preseason Heisman watch in future seasons. So obviously, you're probably not going to see a lineman in the Heisman watch in real life. So, on the game, that shouldn't be the case either. That was a bit of a bug that they've now corrected. They updated the Heisman watch logic to reduce the value of receiving TDs. Previously, if someone was just catching a bunch of touchdowns, they could have next to no yards. But if you were just hitting them, on inside the red zone and racking up touchdowns with them, they were going to be up in that Heisman watch. They've updated that logic as well. So see if anybody's in the chat here before we dive into recruiting. OTMF, OKSK. Yes, it is. It's live now. It is update. Is ready to be installed now. If you haven't done it, when you throw on your game, it should be, or of course, go through your app and go ahead and update it that way. But definitely, it's live now. I think they finished it up. I want to say it was by 9 this morning. They had this thing live. So it didn't take them too long. I think they shut down the servers at 6, and then so about 2 or 3 hours later had it up. But it is live now. Appreciate the question. If anybody else has any, throw them in there. And while I'm at it, just want to encourage you guys that watch this now or on the playback, hit the thumbs up button, give me a like on the video. Helps a ton with that YouTube algorithm and helps push this video out to more people so they can learn about this update as well. And of course, if you're a fan of this game, subscribe to the channel. Going to have Road to Glory streams and Dynasty streams here in the future. And yes, that's coming on YouTube, not just on Twitch anymore. I had been doing it to where I was just streaming it on Twitch and then taking that, downloading that file, editing it, narrating it, all that stuff to upload to YouTube. But, those videos just weren't getting the views that I was hoping for, and it was just too much work for me to do it if nobody's going to watch them. So instead, I'm just going to be streaming to both YouTube and Twitch in the future, and that way, if people want to watch it on a playback, it'll be up on YouTube for you to be able to do that after it does expire on the Twitch side. So that's going to be the move going forward. It's just going to be live streams to both YouTube and Twitch instead of going through and editing this video, especially now with college football season kicking off and having to cover the WVU football season on my other channel. It was just going to be far too much work, and without it getting the views, it wasn't really worth it. So I'm just going to stream to both and hoping later today to dive back into Coach JC's coaching journey there in the dynasty mode now in year 3. Going to be my first year as the head coach at UCF after having served as the offensive coordinator at Jacksonville State the first 2 years. But definitely going to be streaming to both YouTube and Twitch now moving forward. Did want to provide that update. Hey, Trasher, what's going on, man? Appreciate you hopping in here for a second. The great Trasher Football. I'm sure you guys know his channel. If not, you should definitely check it out. Great content for college football 25. Appreciate you hopping in, man. But let's get back here. Now let's talk about the recruiting updates that were installed here in the Campus Huddle blog. They said the primary goal for this update was to remove most of the recruiting strategies that were discovered during early access and to smooth out the pain points the players were reporting. Recruiting is a delicate balance, and they want to try and make things as realistic as possible while also allowing players to live out their fantasies. With that in mind, we decided to introduce additional recruiting logic and balance changes. And some of those are: they fixed an issue where teams were pursuing too many quarterbacks in high school recruiting, reduced the number of unrecruited 4 and 5 stars early in the season, increase the number of players that the AOI will pursue at one time. So a little bit of positive and negative here, I guess, because if you're at a lower tier school, you could go in early in the season, week 2, week 3, find some people that hadn't been offered scholarships in the 4 and 5 star level and maybe steal some of those at one of those lower tier programs. Now it seems like it might be a little bit more difficult because those unrecruited 4 and 5 stars early in the season, there's going to be less of those guys. But also, it's going to open up the window for more quarterbacks to be recruited, as the AI was recruiting a ton in the past. Now they're not going to be recruiting as many, but the AI is going to be recruiting more players, or pursuing more players at one time rather, as well. So the above changes strive to decrease the number of players that go unrecruited until late in the cycle, while also slightly reducing how aggressive the AI could be with those recruits once they start to recruit them. The goal was to deliver fun but balanced recruiting experience that feels rewarding to all players. We will monitor the impacts these changes have on the overall recruiting experience and continue to adjust as needed. And then as far as visits are concerned, this was a big one. I'm sure we've all hit the glitch where, you got a guy ready for a visit, but it's still locked and wouldn't let you schedule it. That was one, along with a few others that involved visits, and they've definitely fixed those as well. So Dynasty should be greatly improved after this update, with multiple reasons, recruiting being maybe at the top of that list there. They fixed an issue where you could not schedule visits for recruits in certain situations, fixed an issue where the visit remained scheduled even if a recruit was removed from your board. So now if you schedule a visit with somebody, but you don't want them to come in anymore, you can remove them from your board and they won't come back in on that visit. Fixed an issue where the allowed number of visits scheduled for a week to exceed 4. Tuned visit influence effects. They removed initial influence when scheduling a visit, increased disparity between winning and losing a game during a visit, and tuned the logic for game stakes to better account for ranked teams. Increased the penalty for choosing a visit activity that the team does not have a high grade in or the player is not interested in, so that will even function better now. You need to be sure when you're scheduling the visits that it lines up with both what the player's interests are and what your team is graded out decently in as well. You don't want to bring them in for something that they're interested in, but it's a low grade for you, and vice versa, because it's going to be a higher penalty if you do that now. So those are updates to recruiting here in the update. Then we're going to talk Super Sim. Let me take a swig of my coffee, and then we'll get back into the blog. Doing pretty good, bro. Doing pretty good. Definitely excited to hop back into Dynasty and my online dynasties and see how these updates play out. I'm excited about it, man. I'm sure you are too, but glad to see it finally come. And now I'm just waiting on the next roster update. I know for WVU, there's several things that need to be adjusted on the roster. A couple guys that didn't get in, freshmen and some transfers and stuff. I'm waiting. Haven't started my offline WVU dynasty yet because of that. I'm just waiting on that roster update. It's supposed to be coming later this month. But other than that, man, doing great. Really loving the game and, loving talking about it, as I'm sure you are as well, man. Good to hear from you. Appreciate that. All right, guys, I'm going to take a swig of my coffee real quick, and then we'll get back to the blog. All right. Now we need to talk about Super Sim, which did have some bugs for sure. Not the least of which was if you were, simming next play a lot, sometimes the game would freeze up. Had it happen to me a couple times. You guys probably saw it in my playthrough of my first year of Dynasty. There was the offensive coordinator at Jacksonville State. Had it happen a couple of times, unfortunately, but we were able to bounce back from that. We were able to bounce back. Super Sim. Increased handoff rate for simulated RPOs to increase the number of running plays across the country, especially for teams with a lot of RPOs in their playbook. So that's good to see. That'll help the stats in Dynasty mode as well. Various tuning fixes to increase the gap between good and bad teams / players. They're going to continue to monitor the simulation results to ensure that teams and players are performing within expected ranges, including reducing the frequency of upsets based on preseason projections and expected win totals. So this should fix, some of the things we've seen about some lower tier teams maybe ending up in the playoffs, ending up high in the polls, a bunch of upsets that you probably shouldn't see, like FCS teams beating Georgia, things like that. All of that should be corrected with these Super Sim updates. So that's good to hear, which in turn should update, the polls, which we're going to talk about momentarily. And of course, the college football playoff, which I know a lot of people were having issues with kind of the logic of how that would end up. This should help with that, one hand feeding the other. And the college football playoff should seem more realistic in your dynasty modes now as well. So talking a little bit about the polls now. Increase the loss penalty for schools with more than one loss, increase the weighing of conference prestige in the poll calculation, and they reduced variance in the college football playoff poll logic versus median coaches. As with the other systems they mentioned above, they'll continue to monitor the polls to ensure that it strikes a balance between realism and reward for player success. But definitely, this is great news for those CFP, glitches, bugs, whatever you want to call it, that we've all been experiencing in Dynasty mode. This should make that happen way less frequent, and we should have more realistic results in the college football playoff bracket that will be reflected in the dynasty mode, especially, won't have teams that are, undefeated, ranked way down in the polls, and, teams with 3-4 losses ranked high in the polls. All that should go away now with this update. And then custom conferences and custom schedules here. They'll continue to monitor feedback about custom conferences and scheduling. And of course, we'll make adjustments in future title updates, but they've already fixed an issue in conference rules where divisions were changed to off, even if those divisions were previously turned on. They fixed an issue where the independence tab disappeared when removing all teams from independence. This also fixes issues with the tabs to the right of independence having incorrect or missing data. They addressed UI issues around the conference title game for CUSA and Pac-12. Addressing UI issues around Dynasty Team Select UI, appropriately respecting the custom conference moves, and they updated text in the team header on the custom schedule screen. And then we have some Road to Glory updates as well here that we need to talk about. Let's see here. Guess you got any comments in the meantime? 92 CJFL says, still no fix for the job offer issue in Dynasty. What a shame. What's the issue? I haven't had any issues with the job offer in Dynasty personally, but also I don't know if you're on PS5 or Xbox. I have heard that Xbox has been having a bit more issues than the PS5 side, especially in Dynasty mode. So maybe that's the discrepancy there. But I know, I played my offline Dynasty a couple years as a coordinator, had good offers there in that one. And then third year, same thing. So I've been getting offers, and there haven't been too many, haven't been too less. Been pretty good for me, but let me know the issue you're talking about. Maybe some other people have experienced it as well, and hopefully it's something that they'll adjust in the future. Then if they didn't adjust to this one, like I said, they're still monitoring stuff, so definitely think they could fix that in the future if it's not fixed quite yet. But appreciate the comment, 92 CJ. All right, let's talk Road to Glory now. Let's pull this back up, and they did make some adjustments to Road to Glory as well. They added additional scenarios and NIL content. So, that's good, keeping the game fresh there, and hopefully they'll continue to do that throughout. Fixed a rare issue where you'd get a scenario reward screen that did not align with your received bonuses. They fixed an issue where users were getting skill points maxed out after completing a practice. So I think I've heard about this. I hadn't heard about it for a while. And definitely didn't hear about it before I started my Road to Glory, but there was some type of glitch that people were using where you could get your player maxed out, like 99 overall. Seems like they've found that out and fixed that, so you won't be able to do that anymore. They fixed the crash when quitting a position battle. They reworked wear and tear UI to show position-appropriate ratings and impacts. They fixed an issue where you cannot equip a mental ability during the Road to Glory player creation flow if you enter a settings menu during creation. They also fixed an issue where mental meter progress is not tracked during bye weeks. They fixed an issue where it's impossible to lose coach trust once you reach max coach trust. So now you still can, even if you get to the max coach trust level, that can still be affected and you can still drop down there. Fixed a UI issue related to the display of coach trust when a user is close to max coach trust. Fixed an issue where you cannot upgrade your player during bye weeks. Now you will be able to do that. They fixed an issue related to the UI on the display of the weekly energy in the meter screen. Fixed issues with mental goals, not tracking correctly or reaching platinum correctly. Fixed UI issues around text message. Fixed an issue where backing out of the team selection step in Road to Glory creation can soft lock the mode. So that won't happen anymore. Fixed an issue where a player can continue to work on academics after graduating early, which that's what I'm hoping to be on the path for in mine. I'm in year 3 now, have maintained that high GPA that you need to not have to have to go through academics in your 4th year. So good to see that that's been updated. And it doesn't say that you have to restart for these to take place in your Road to Glory. So hopefully, even in ongoing Road to Glories, this effect will take place there as well. Because I'm sure they would have said that you had to restart like they did in the Dynasty ones if you had to do so. So that's good to hear. We'll get into Ultimate Team next. Not something I've played a ton, but I have dabbled with it a little bit. You guys know I'm the biggest Ultimate Team fan, but I've tried it a little bit. 92 CJFL with a little bit of elaboration on the coach thing here. And Dynasty teams will automatically give you 1-year extensions as a coach that automatically accept, and you can't get any job offers for that year. Some people, including myself, have had years not being able to get a new job because the game automatically extends you by 1 year. Interesting. So I've seen that as well, but I thought that when I've done it, because if I wanted to get into the coaching carousel, I still could accept the jobs that were offered to me, because I know that they talked about that in their Dynasty preview 92 CJ, that they did that on purpose so that if you don't accept a job and you don't accept the extension, it automatically would do it for you so that you wouldn't end up not out of school going into the next season if you forgot to accept the job. So I think that that's on purpose, but you should still be able to accept job offers even though you sign the extension, because I know signing the extension doesn't lock you into your program. You should still be able to go into the coaching carousel and see what jobs are offered to you, even if the extension is automatically accepted, unless it really is a bug, which is possible as well. But I know that that was something they were talking about in the Dynasty blog before the game released, that they had that as a feature so that nobody would be left without a job. It would automatically accept those, but you were still supposed to be able to, go into the carousel, which I've still been able to do personally. So like I said, I haven't ran into that issue, but I hate that it's happening for you, man, if it is ongoing like that. All right, let's talk a little bit about Ultimate Team here. So the generating best lineup no longer changes your equipped visuals and your playbook. Player portraits will no longer appear on non-player items after filtering or sorting. Fix the crash that occurred during kickoff at halftime when playing champs. Attributes on the front of player items should update correctly after a player item has been upgraded. They fixed an issue that was occurring when highlighting the renamed team title on the UT Hub. Fixed an issue with squads 3v3 that prevented 2 users from being able to connect to the game. Fixed an issue with the orientation pack that was preventing new users from being able to upgrade their lineup and progress through the orientation field pass. Fixed an issue on the player profile screen that prevented users from being able to transition within the profile selections. They removed the green gavel icon that appeared on owned item placed on the auction house. Fixed the crash with house rules, touchdown tango that triggered when the play clock reached 0. Player items displayed on the new item screen no longer appear transparent when not highlighted. When viewing challenge details, the yardage marker is now displayed within the conditions. Good to hear that. On the lineup screen, names of players in backup slots contributing to chemistry should change in scale when highlighting a chemistry boost. Improved UI around attributes that are receiving chemistry boosts when viewing the attributes tab of the item detail screen. Fixed an issue that was causing long load transitions on the new item screen during the first time user experience. The difficulty star for challenges now displays correctly when scrolling down the play co-op list. They fixed an issue that was causing users to error out to the main hub when trying to access the auction house. Conference filters in the auction house now work correctly, and fixed stability issues for users entering Ultimate Team for the first time. All right, and then presentation. They added new uniform pieces, which we kind of knew that the update was coming because Baylor put out on their Twitter account yesterday that their new uniforms were coming on 8/8, and that's how a lot of people kind of got keyed into, hey, I think there's an update coming for College Football 25 tomorrow. They kind of let the cat out of the bag for that one, so we knew Baylor's anthracite uniforms were coming. They added new uniform pieces for Baylor, Oregon, Iowa State, Ole Miss, Vandy, Bowling Green, Northwestern, UTEP, Boise State, New Mexico State, App State, Texas Tech, Louisiana, New Mexico, and South Alabama. Also adjusted uniform pieces for the 2024 season for teams such as TCU, Arkansas, Missouri, and Baylor. I was hoping with this update that they would have the new West Virginia's black uniforms on the game. But unfortunately, from what I've heard from people, they're not on there yet. But if you have a team that their uniforms aren't on there yet, maybe some alternates they're using for the upcoming season, then from what I understand, that's not on EA. That's more on the university, and they probably don't want EA to release those yet. So, they may be waiting until they reveal them in real life, and then they'll give them to EA to put on the game. That's one possibility. I'm hoping, still fingers crossed to get to see those WVU black uniforms in the near future. Maybe it'll have to be waiting until they debut them in the season. But, there will be more uniform updates coming this season on the game, as well as roster updates and such. So don't get discouraged if your team doesn't have a piece of, uniform options that's not on there yet. It'll be coming down the line, I'm sure, because I'm in that same boat, wanting to see those black WVU uniforms here on the game as well. Various improvements made to teams' uniform pieces for authenticity. Updates have been made to the following stadiums as well: the Holiday Bowl, the Texas State Stadium. Kansas has their new stadium on the game. I saw that tweeted out earlier. Kennesaw State Stadium, Oklahoma State's, Wake Forest, UL Monroe, and Nebraska Stadium have all also received some type of update. They fixed an issue where the USC mascot would disappear during the opening ceremony. Fixed an issue where the incorrect mascot would appear during different situations. Haven't seen this one personally, but I have seen clips of it. Sometimes you'd be playing a game between, two teams, and then a third team's mascot that's not involved in the game would be shown, doing push-ups on the board or something after someone scores. So that's not going to happen anymore. The correct mascots will be there. They restored the opening chance for Penn State, FSU, and Tennessee on Xbox Series X, which I'm sure Xbox people will be happy to hear. I know that on Xbox they were having issues not being able to hear the war chant at Florida State was a big one in the past. Now those will all be on there and be able to hear them on the Xbox as well. And then some updates for Road to the College Football Playoff as well. Tier rebalancing and reconstruction, changing the format from 3 tiers to 5 tiers. And then they conclude here. They have been in awe of how passionate you all are about College Football 25 and can't wait to see your feedback and gameplay. Thank you all so much for your continued support. What school have you chosen to represent? Let us know from the College Football 25 team. So there it is. Lengthy little Campus Huddle blog, but really appreciate them putting that out and letting us know all the updates that came here in this title update released on August 8th. And it's, not the first big one, and it won't be the last big one either. And I'm sure if they have another large one that they correct stuff on, they'll release another Campus Huddle for us to let us know what those updates are. And I do know for a fact that coming, towards the end of this month, coinciding with the start of the college football season, we are getting another update that will update the roster for a ton of teams. I'm sure that, much like my favorite team, WVU, some players have changed jersey numbers. There's probably some players that didn't get in that you want to see on there, whether they be young freshmen or transfers that kind of signed late. All those should be added in a roster update coming, to kind of coincide with the start of the college football season. So I do know we have that coming down the line, and any adjustments they need to make in between there, I'm sure they will do that. And if they do make those adjustments and updates, we'll report on them again here on JC's Pop Culture and chat with you guys about them. But that's pretty much all I got for this one, unless you guys got any late questions or comments there you want to throw in. Go ahead and do that. I'm going to take a swig of my coffee, and then we'll wrap up this live stream covering this title update because, hey, I want to hop on the game and try out the Dynasty mode again and see how this affects, the gameplay and such, as I'm sure some of you guys may have already or may be looking forward to doing so as well. But I appreciate everybody that tuned in this one live. Just one more request for you guys, if you would just hit the like button before you head out, or even if you're watching this on a playback, that helps. Just hit that little thumbs up button. Really helps a shit ton with that YouTube algorithm. Of course, if you're a fan of this game, be sure to subscribe here. Like I said, Dynasty mode, my Dynasty series is going to continue to stream here, as will my Road to Glory as well, as I continue to press through those game modes here on College Football 25. All right. Much better, much better. It looks like we don't got any questions or anything in chat, so going to go ahead and wrap this one up, guys. Appreciate everybody that tuned into this one, and I will catch you guys on the next one.